Before we start the new chapter, I want to give a brief explanation about a point from the previous chapter. There, Lord Krishna had said that if you totally surrender to Him, that He will take care of your yoga and shema. Meaning that if you remember the Lord at all times and act on in this world in a disciplined manner, the Lord will take care of your yoga and shema. And we discussed those meanings of those two words last time. Yoga in this context are activities that we engage in to get and acquire things that we already do not have. To acquire things, activities to acquire things is called yoga in this context. Shema are activities that we indulge in to protect, maintain and save what we already have. These two, the yoga and shema, are all the activities that we do from birth to death in our entire life. And the Lord says that if you act on in this world, surrendering to me totally, I will take care of your yoga and shema. That's the meaning, the superficial meaning. For a contemplative student, he understands a deeper significance in that. Total surrender means giving up your ego and all your self-centered desires. That's total surrender. So if somebody acts with total renunciation of their ego and their self-centered interests, then your actions are purely an expression of the Lord's love for everything in this world. And the Lord will work through that person. It is as if that person is an instrument in the hand of the Lord, so that anything that the Lord wants, He works through that person, because He allows him, the Lord, to work through him. His actions, his words, everything are from the Lord, because there's nothing obstructing. The ego is not there to block it. It's just like the flute. If a flute player is playing the flute is just a stick of bamboo with several holes in it. The flute player blows into it and then manipulates those holes and brings out melodious music. Suppose there is some blockages in the flute, or the flute has some deformity there, whereby when the flute player plays, the flute brings out a different tune. There will be no melody at all in the music that the flute player would be playing. In the same way, right now, as it is, you and I are like that flute that is distorted. The Lord is trying to play His music in this world, and we play our own type of music, regardless of what the music that the Lord wants to play. There are ego-centered activities and thoughts in our minds that distort the Lord's plan. So total surrender is where you give up all that and let the Lord's will be done in this world. When somebody is acting in that manner, the Lord, it's a guarantee. The Lord had said even in the last chapter that such a devotee shall never come to perish or shall never come to any harm. Meaning, it is a guarantee that the Lord is giving that when somebody is acting in that manner, He will take care of all his needs. We have to remember that from the standpoint of that person who is acting with no ego and egocentric desires, he will have no desires for materialistic things that you and I have. So even though the Lord says, I will give you whatever you desire, that person will not desire any worldly matters, because his frame of mind, he has moved on to a higher realm where these things do not interest him anymore. It is just like when we were little, we liked the toys. But then, because we grew physically, and consequently with the physical growth, our interest and priorities also change. We have now an indifferent attitude towards those toys. Those toys remain the same. We may still like to look at it, maybe we appreciate the way it has been made, but yet we have no clinging attachment or any desire to possess these dolls. Why? Because our priorities have changed. We have moved on to a higher realm. In the same way, a contemplative student who had learned to give up the ego and act in an egocentric manner will automatically not have any interest in the sense pleasures of the world. So that was the point that I wanted to make from the last chapter. Now we come to chapter 10. We are exactly at the middle of the GeetA. It is 18 chapters. We have finished 9 chapters and we are getting on to the 10th chapter. So this is a good time for us to get a quick recap of what we have covered so far. Now, Bhagavad Gita starts with Arjuna's plight and confusion. Now, Arjuna, as you know, is a warrior, is an educated, intelligent man who had fought many wars, won many wars, and has learned the scriptures from his childhood on, has all the good moral and ethical values and behavior, and had made wise decisions. And in fact, the decision to to engage in the war was also, he was part of that decision-making process. And yet, when he was at the war front, when he saw the enemy arrayed against him, he lost his cool, so to speak, and became confused and shattered in his thinking. He was not able to think in a rational manner, and hence was not able to do his duty. Now this is called Arjuna disease, and it is not only a thing that happened to Arjuna, but it happens to all of us. We all have basic knowledge, data, education, and we have made good decisions in our life. And yet, at certain points in our life, we get confused and we are not able to make the right decisions. Now, these problems or challenges are on the outside. These problems are man-made. Lord had made a perfect world out there. But we create problems, and the problems that we create are a reflection of the distortion and shattering of our minds, is what is being displayed as problems out there. Anyway, the problems are on the outside, and we have to meet these problems. When we meet these problems with a shattered mind, the problems only get bigger and never get resolved. But with an integrated mind, a mind that is calm and pure, then when you approach the problem, the problem does not seem to be a problem anymore, because you are in a position to deal with it in the proper way. This process of integrating your mind and calming your mind is the theme of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So that was discussed in chapter 1. And then when we moved on to chapter 2, it was a brief reference to the main ideas that were going to be taken up in the entire 18 chapters. The Lord Krishna touched upon the different subjects that he is going to address in the Bhagavad Gita. And in the last 18 verses of chapter 2, he described in great detail what an ideal self-realized person would be. The qualities, how he acts, how he would function in this world, all are described in those 18 verses. That was given to us so that we could use that as our goal, or as an ideal to work towards. Because every action of ours, if it does not have a goal, we will not ever be able to improve ourselves. Every action must have a goal. And therefore, to give a goal, the Lord gave those last 18 chapters called Sthita Prajna, the man of realization. Then in chapter 3, he talked about Karma Yoga. And there he taught us how to act in this world. When you act in this world, what is the right attitude to take when you work in this world? Because when you do something, what is outwardly manifest is what you do. But it is your intention that actually decides the real fruit of your actions, or the benefit of your actions are mainly based on your intentions. So what kind of an attitude should we have when we act in this world? And that's talked about in chapter 3. We are told that we should fulfill our obligatory duties. And what are these obligatory duties? We talked about that earlier also. It's called, there are certain activities called daily duties. Niyata karma. Nitya karma. Meaning things that we have to do on a daily basis. Taking care of our personal needs. Keeping ourselves clean. Eating, sleeping. Doing exercise. Taking care of the needs of everybody around us, meeting our responsibilities. These are our daily activities, nitya karma. And then there are certain activities that we have to do occasionally. Like a friend of yours falls ill and is in the hospital. You have to take time off to go and visit him and cheer him up in the hospital. You cannot say, well, I'm busy. My time is so taken up with all the things that I have to do that I have no time to go. As long as we are living in a community, that is an obligatory duty, that we have to take time off. If a friend's daughter is getting married, we have to take time off to go and give your blessings to the young couple. So these are called the obligatory part of the obligatory duties. These two, the daily duties and these occasional duties, are called our obligatory duties. So Lord Krishna says, fulfill your obligatory duties to the best of your abilities. Best of your ability meaning not just doing for the sake of doing. You do it perfectly as you can. Fulfill your obligatory duties. Rise above your own personal desires. ego and the egocentric desire, needs, and such actions will accrue no vasanas. Now it is a rule that every action will form an impression in our mind, and those are called vasanas. So when we act in this world, we are accumulating vasanas. The Lord says that when you act with no selfish interest, there will be no vasanas that will be accumulating in your mind. In fact, when you act with a selfless attitude, not only will no new vasanas will be formed, but existing vasanas get exhausted. So if you keep on doing selfless activities all the time, little by little your vasanas will get exhausted and your mind will get purer and purer. Now when you act that way, we come to the next chapters, chapter 4 and 5. The Lord talks more about how to act in a yajna spirit. Yajna spirit meaning where you sync your differences. We are all different from each other. So we have our own likes and dislikes. But in a community, we have to work together for the common good of everybody. When you sync your differences and work towards a common goal for the common benefit of everybody, that's called working in a yajna spirit. And the Lord says, when you function in that manner, with that yajna spirit, you could accomplish just about anything that you want. In fact, the sky is the limit. Lord Krishna says that you have that power to make or create anything that you want when you work in a yajna spirit. How to act in a yajna spirit? Sync your personal differences and work for the common good of others. The mind gets purer and sense objects lose their appeal. Enchantment of the toys fall off automatically and the mind becomes alert and vigilant. When you act in this manner, your mind becomes alert. Alert meaning when your mind gets calmer and purer, the mind it is not that, see, we get calmer and tranquil when we go to sleep also. But that is not the mind that the Lord is talking about. Your mind gets calmer and purer and tranquil, but it is alert. Alert meaning it is very alert to what is going on, and it will not allow any negative thinking to come in. So the mind is very alert. At the same time, it is vigilant. Vigilant meaning it is looking for any dangers that might be out there, temptations that are out there that would pollute your mind. So the mind is alert and vigilant when it is purer, when you act in this manner. So with that quiet mind, you become more philosophical. Now that your mind is now purer and calmer and tranquil, what do you do with that mind? Because if you do not use that mind properly, that mind is going to dissipate itself into the worldly things again. Because that is the nature of the mind. It is like, if somebody gives me a tennis racket, and I have the tennis racket, but I don't know how to use it. I have to know how to use that racket. Or if you give a fountain pen, a very expensive fountain pen, to a 3-year-old child, that child does not know how to use that fountain pen. It will make a mess of that pen and in fact break that pen. The child has to be taught how to write. And when the child is writing nicely, then you present the child with an expensive fountain pen, he will be able to use that pen very, very well. So in the same way, with this mind that is now pure, how do you use that mind? That Lord brings us to chapter 6. He says, use that mind to turn it inwardly and focus on the Om, the Dhyana Yoga, chapter 6. Gather your mind's integrity and energy and turn it towards Om. Don't let it dissipate in the objects, emotions and thoughts of the outside. Turn to the center in you, which is energizing every cell in your body. Now, every cell in our body is energized by this life spark that is in us. That's the divinity. And that life spark is the one that also gives us the awareness of our thoughts. Every thought in our mind and every action in ourselves, we are aware of in our body. We are consciously aware all the time. That awareness is what the Lord is talking about. Turn your attention onto that awareness, and that is the real you. That awareness is the real you. Turn your attention with this pure mind. Turn your attention to that awareness in you. It illumines every thought. That awareness is you. And then the Lord gives all the practical details as to how to meditate. The seat that you need to prepare, how you should sit on that seat, what are the things that you need to do to kind of maintain that tranquil mind. All those details are given in chapter 6. And then we come to 7, 8 and 9. The Lord gives regulated exercises as to how this mind can be trained to focus inwardly. Regulated exercises to turn attention inwardly and realize the presence of the Lord. And that brings us to chapter 10, which is what we are going to start today, and that's called the Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti is the glory. The Lord talks about His own glory in chapter 10. And there He says, and before we start on that, the Lord Krishna notices that Arjuna is now looking very bright and enthusiastic. Why? Because now when we started, Arjuna was totally dejected and confused. And he appealed to Lord Krishna, please give me advice as to what I should do. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. I'm supposed to kill my own cousins, my own teacher, my own elders out there who are standing to fight me, and I'm supposed to kill them. Is that the right thing to do? Is that dharma? So Lord Krishna takes up all these discourses, and up to this point, Arjuna had not that he understood everything that Lord Krishna was saying, but he got the main ideas. And he had now developed a certain respect for Lord Krishna. Because at the very beginning, Arjuna thought, Lord Krishna is just my charioteer. He is my friend. And he has a standing in the community only because he is my friend. And because of me, people respect him. That's what Arjuna thought. The Lord says that he is Sarva Loka Maheshwara. Now, Loka in Sanskrit means field of experience. Loka in Sanskrit is field of experience. You have heard the phrase, the world of doctors, the world of students, the world of homeless people. It is not that there is a separate world for these things, but then they have a common field of experience. A world of doctors means a common field of doctors who have certain expertise. So in the same way, my loka, When I say my loka is my field of experience. So in my world, I have experiences from my body, from my mind, and from my intellect. I have experiences that I gather from all these three sources that I have. So these experiences are there. But how do I know that I have these experiences? It is because of the presence of that life spark in me. Because when I am dead, these experiences won't be there, and I would not have those experiences. I am aware of my experiences, of this body, of my mind, of my intellect. I am aware of my experiences only because of the presence of that enlivening factor. So in that sense, that enlivening factor is the Lord of my world. He is the Lord of my world. In the same way, He is the Lord of your world. He is the Lord of your world. So when you look at it that way, He is the Lord of this whole universe. And that's the meaning of the word Sarva Loka Maheshwara. So the Lord Krishna says, I am Sarva Loka Maheshwara, meaning He is the Lord of everything that is happening in this world. Loka means common field of experience. The presence, my Loka, the presence of consciousness. Therefore, He rules over my world. Similarly, He rules over the worlds of everyone. Hence, Sarvaloka Maheshwara. I have my own private world. So do everybody else. My world is bright and wonderful when my mind... Now here, the Lord says that each one of us have our own private world. I have my own private world. My own family, my own job, my own friends, my own workplace, my own shops that I go to. That's my private world. In my private world, the other person's private world sometimes overlaps. Like how here, my world consists of this temple as well. But it is now overlapped by your world also is overlapping in this area. So for short periods of time, our worlds overlap with others. But what we are talking about is that we have our own private world. Now my private world is bright and happy when my mind is happy. If I am sad about something, my whole world looks dreary. So my world is colored by my mind. My mind decides what kind of a world I am going to have. By the same token, when I am in deep sleep, my world is not there for me anymore. So the conclusion is, as my mind, so my world. So I am. So my world is anyway based on my mind. Where there is no mind, there is no world. I have my own private world, so do everybody else. My world is bright and wonderful when my mind is happy. The same world becomes dull and dreary when my mind is sad. Also, my world disappears when I am asleep. Therefore, as the mind, so is the world. Where there is no mind, there is no world for that individual. The total mind creates. The total mind is called Ishvara. See, my mind creates my own world, as we said. The total mind creates this whole world. So the Lord, identifying with my little mind, created my own world. The same Lord, identifying with the total mind, created this whole world. The total mind creates this world. Total mind includes plants, animals, and humans. Total mind here, as you all know, is my mind, your mind, the animal's mind, the plant's mind, everybody's mind goes into the creation of this whole world. So therefore, the Lord is described as omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Why? Because He has the mind of everybody and everything. Thus, the pure consciousness identifying with the cosmic mind becomes the creator, the Ishvara, and identifying with the individual inner equipment, it becomes the limited ego or the jiva. Just like electricity. Electricity is the same, but when it identifies with the bulb, it manifests as light. When it identifies with the heater, it gives out heat. When it identifies with the fan, it gives out air. But electricity remains the same. It manifests itself differently. Just like how the enlivening factor is the same in everything, but we are different mainly because the equipment is different. But the enlivening factor is the same. We'll continue with that next time.